Hey there. Ready to dive into the future of computing?
Always ready.
We're not just talking about the quantum hype you've probably heard about.
Right.
You want to know what's coming next, what's bubbling under the surface. So, we're taking a deep dive into some truly mind-bending stuff. We've got an excerpt from The Future of Computing, Beyond Quantum to guide us,
Okay.
plus some fascinating research on the limitations of quantum computing itself.
Yeah, it's fascinating because while quantum computing has grabbed all the headlines,
Right.
it's just one piece of the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
There are other emerging technologies,
Right.
some even building on quantum principles,
Mm-hmm.
that could completely change how we process information.
Right, it's not a one-horse race to the future, is it?
Nope.
But let's start with what most people have at least heard of, quantum computing. I always think of it like imagine a coin spinning in the air.
Okay.
It's both heads and tails at the same time until it lands. That's kind of what these quantum bits or qubits can do. They can be in multiple states simultaneously, which means they can process information incredibly fast.
That's a great analogy. That ability to be in multiple states at once allows for massive parallel processing,
Right.
which is what gives quantum computers their potential edge.
Yeah.
But it's also what makes them so complex and in some ways fragile.
Fragile. How so? It sounds like they're super powerful.
They are powerful, but think of it like this. Imagine trying to solve a complex math problem while someone is constantly banging on the table next to you.
Oh.
That constant disruption is like the noise that can mess with quantum computers.
Right.
It's called decoherence.
Yeah.
And it causes those delicate quantum states to collapse, leading to errors.
So it's like a super powerful engine that's really sensitive to vibrations.
Exactly.
So are scientists just trying to build quieter rooms for these quantum computers?
Well, it's not quite that simple.
Okay.
Shielding them from noise is one part of it. But researchers are also working on error correction techniques and developing more stable qubits. It's a huge challenge, but the potential payoff is enormous.
So it's like a race against time trying to get the calculations done before the qubits get disrupted. But I guess that leads us to the question of, are these quantum computers actually good for everything? I mean, our research here mentions they have some, shall we say, limited applicability?
That's a key point.
Yeah.
They're not a universal replacement for the computers we use every day.
Right.
Quantum computers are amazing for specific tasks,
Okay.
like simulating molecules to design new drugs or breaking complex codes.
Right.
But for things like checking email or browsing the web, your laptop is probably still going to be the better tool for the job.
Okay, that makes sense. It's like having different tools for different jobs.
That's
You wouldn't
right.
use a hammer to tighten a screw, right?
Right.
But knowing that quantum computers have these limitations makes exploring these alternatives even more exciting. What really caught your eye?
Well, one that truly stands out is neuromorphic computing. We're talking about computers that mimic the human brain.
Whoa.
Imagine a computer that learns like a child, adapting and evolving with new information.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
So are we talking about AI that's even closer to how our own minds work?
Yes.
Because that's both amazing and a little bit creepy at the same time.
You're hitting on something crucial there.
Yeah.
It's amazing because it allows for incredible energy efficiency.
Right.
And opens up possibilities for AI that can recognize patterns and learn organically. But yes, it also raises questions about what it means for a computer to think more like a human.
Whoa, okay, definitely a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
But there are two more alternatives in our deep dive here.
Okay.
Topological quantum computing and DNA computing. To be honest, those sound a bit like something straight out of Star Trek. Can you break those down for us?
Sure, let's start with topological quantum computing. It leverages these bizarre particles called anyons that exist in 2D space. Think of it like this. Imagine data woven into the very fabric of space-time,
Oh, wow.
making it incredibly resistant to errors.
Okay, now my brain officially hurts. Data woven into space-time, but what does that even mean in practical terms?
It means that these topological quantum computers could be significantly more stable
Okay.
and less prone to those disruptive errors we talked about earlier.
Right.
It's like having a quantum computer that's much more resilient to the noise.
So potentially we could have much more powerful quantum computers with fewer limitations. That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
But what about this DNA computing? Aren't we talking about using actual DNA to compute here?
You got it. DNA computing utilizes the unique properties of DNA to perform calculations.
Okay.
It can store a mind-boggling amount of information in an incredibly small space.
Right.
We're talking about potentially fitting all the data in the world into just a few grams of DNA.
Wow, I'm speechless. So we've got brain-inspired computers, quantum computers built on exotic particles, and computers made of DNA. I mean, are these technologies even competing with each other, or are they totally different beasts?
That's where it gets really interesting. They're not necessarily competing,
Okay.
but rather complementing each other.
Okay, so how does that work?
Well, think about it. Advancements in material science, for example, could lead to more stable qubits for quantum computers,
Mm-hmm.
or more efficient chips for neuromorphic computing. The knowledge gained in one area can often spark breakthroughs in others.
So it's like a rising tide lifts all boats.
Exactly.
The more we learn in one area, the more it benefits the others.
Exactly. And that's why it's such a thrilling time to be following these developments.
It's like watching a sci-fi movie unfold in real time.
It is.
But I have to ask, what does this all mean for the average person? I mean, this all sounds incredibly complex and futuristic.
It is complex,
Yeah.
but it's also incredibly relevant to our lives. Imagine a world where we have computers that can mimic human intuition, process information at unimaginable speeds, and solve problems that are currently beyond our reach.
Okay, I'm definitely hooked now. Let's keep digging into this. So we're talking about a future where computers could potentially design life-saving drugs,
Right.
create unbreakable encryption, maybe even unlock the secrets of the universe. But let's come back down to Earth for a moment
Sure.
and talk about what this means for everyday life.
What?
How could these advancements actually impact, people?
It's fascinating to think about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's take medicine, for example.
Okay.
Imagine quantum computers helping us design personalized therapies,
Right.
or even cure diseases that are currently untreatable.
Okay, that's seriously cool. So like custom-made treatments based on your specific DNA.
Exactly.
Sign me up.
Right.
But what about things like, say, self-driving cars or those virtual assistants everyone's using? Could these new computing models supercharge those technologies?
Yeah, absolutely. Think about neuromorphic computing again.
Yeah.
It's all about energy efficiency and learning from experience,
Right.
which are both crucial for things like self-driving cars or AI assistants that can understand and respond to your needs in a more natural way.
So instead of just following pre-programmed rules, they could actually learn and adapt on the fly, making them much safer and more intuitive to use.
Precisely. And that's just scratching the surface. We can see advancements in everything from robotics to climate modeling, all thanks to these incredible new computing paradigms.
Okay, so we've got this incredible potential, but I keep thinking about those limitations of quantum computing we discussed earlier. That noise problem sounds like a major roadblock. Are scientists making any progress in overcoming that?
They are, and it's pretty exciting stuff. One promising area is the development of topological qubits, which, as we discussed, are much more resistant to noise.
Right.
Imagine quantum computers that can run for longer periods without those disruptive errors. That would be a game changer.
So it's like we're building a sturdier foundation for quantum computing, making it more reliable and practical for real-world applications.
Exactly. And it's not just about the hardware.
Right.
Researchers are also making strides in developing quantum algorithms and software tools that can harness the power of these machines.
But if quantum computing is so tricky, what about these other technologies? Are they facing similar hurdles?
Yeah.
I mean, building a computer that works like the human brain sounds like a pretty tall order.
You're right. Each approach has its own unique challenges. With neuromorphic computing, the biggest hurdle is probably our understanding of the brain itself.
Right.
We're still unraveling its complexities. So building a computer that replicates it perfectly is still a long way off.
So it's like we're trying to build a map while we're still exploring the territory.
A very good analogy. But each step we take in understanding the brain brings us closer to unlocking the potential of neuromorphic computing.
And what about topological quantum computing? I mean, trying to manipulate those anyons you mentioned earlier, it sounds incredibly complex.
It is, without a doubt. It's cutting-edge science.
Yeah.
And we're still in the early stages of research.
Right.
But the potential rewards are huge. Imagine quantum computers that are less prone to errors, more scalable, and ultimately much more powerful than anything we have today.
Okay, so definitely a long game, but potentially a game changer. And what about DNA computing? Storing all the world's data in a few grams of DNA sounds incredible, but are there any downsides to using DNA as our hard drive?
There are a few things to consider. One is speed.
Okay.
DNA computations can be quite slow
Right.
compared to traditional computers.
Yeah.
It's not about instant results,
Yeah.
but rather about leveraging DNA's incredible information density, and parallel processing capabilities for specific tasks.
So not the best for streaming movies, but maybe for cracking complex scientific problems or storing vast archives of data.
Exactly. It's all about finding the right tool for the job. And that's what makes this whole field so exciting. We're not talking about replacing all computers with one super technology. We're talking about a future where different computing models work together, each playing to its strength.
It's like assembling a team of superheroes, each with their own unique powers.
Yes.
But this brings up an important question. What skills will people need to thrive in this future where computers are becoming so advanced?
Right.
I mean, do we all need to become quantum physicists?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And one that a lot of people are thinking about.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily about everyone needing to become a quantum expert,
Right.
but what will be crucial is a strong foundation in STEM fields,
Okay.
critical thinking skills, and the ability to adapt to rapidly changing technology.
So it's less about knowing specific programming languages and
No.
more about being comfortable learning new things quickly and thinking creatively about how to apply these technologies.
Exactly. Because the most important thing is being able to ask the right questions.
And that's something we encourage everyone to do. But before we wrap up, there's one more computing model we haven't touched on yet. Optical computing.
Okay.
It's briefly mentioned in our source material.
Right.
What's the story with that?
Optical computing. That's another exciting area with a lot of potential. Instead of electrons, it uses photons, particles of light, to process information.
So computers that run on light, that sounds incredibly fast.
It is. Optical computing offers the potential for incredible speeds and bandwidth,
Right.
making it ideal for things like high-performance computing and telecommunications.
Mm.
Plus, photons don't generate heat like electrons,
Right.
so we could see significant energy savings.
Okay, so yet another fascinating piece of the puzzle. But with so many different computing models emerging, it's hard to keep track of them all. Is there any way to think about this in a more organized way?
There is. A helpful way to look at it is to consider the different levels at which these technologies operate.
Okay, I'm listening. Tell me more about these levels.
Well, you could think of it as a spectrum.
Okay.
At one end, you have the very fundamental level,
Mm-hmm.
the physical building blocks of computation.
Right.
This is where things like quantum computing and DNA computing come in.
Oh.
They're using completely new ways to represent and process information at the most basic level.
So like rewriting the rules of the game.
Exactly. Then you have another level where we're trying to mimic biological systems,
Right.
like with neuromorphic computing.
Right.
It's about learning from nature's incredible efficiency and problem-solving abilities.
Okay, that makes sense. And where does optical computing fit into all of this?
Optical computing sits somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
It's not changing the fundamental building blocks of computation,
Right.
but it is using a different medium, light, to transmit and process information.
So it's like upgrading the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Making the information highway much faster and more efficient.
A perfect way to put it. And all of these approaches are interconnected. Advancements in one area can often benefit others.
Right.
For example, new materials developed for quantum computing could also be used to improve optical components.
So it's a big interconnected web of innovation with each technology pushing the boundaries of what's possible. But this brings up a question I've been wondering about. With all this talk about computers getting faster and more powerful, is there a limit to how powerful computers can become? I mean, is there a point where we hit a wall where the laws of physics just say, nope, no further?
That's a question that's been debated by physicists and computer scientists for decades.
Right.
There are theoretical limits, of course.
Right.
For example, the speed of light puts a cap on how quickly information can travel.
Right.
And there's also a limit to how much energy you can pack into a given space.
So even with all these mind-blowing advancements, we can't just keep making computers infinitely faster and more powerful forever.
Not infinitely, no.
Yeah.
But the limits are still far beyond what we can currently achieve.
Right.
And who knows, maybe we'll discover entirely new laws of physics that change the game completely.
Okay, that's both exciting and slightly terrifying. But let's zoom back in on the present for a moment. We've talked about all this amazing potential, but what are the biggest challenges facing these emerging computing models? What's standing in the way of these sci-fi scenarios becoming reality?
Well, as we've discussed, each technology has its own set of hurdles. For quantum computing, it's about overcoming decoherence, building more stable qubits, and developing practical algorithms. For neuromorphic computing, it's about deepening our understanding of the brain and finding ways to translate that knowledge into efficient hardware and software.
And for topological quantum computing, it sounds like we're still figuring out the basic science, right? I mean, manipulating those ennies can't be easy.
It's definitely a challenging field, but one with enormous potential. And let's not forget about DNA computing. Scaling up those computations and improving their speed are major challenges.
So it's a long road ahead with lots of obstacles to overcome. But it also sounds incredibly exciting. It's like we're at the dawn of a new era of computing with all these possibilities opening up. But this brings up another question. What does all of this mean for jobs? Will these super smart computers eventually replace humans altogether?
That's a topic that often comes up, and understandably so.
Yeah.
It's natural to wonder about the impact of automation on the workforce.
Right.
But I think it's important to remember that technology has always disrupted jobs, going all the way back to the Industrial Revolution.
Right, but this time feels different, doesn't it? I mean, we're not just talking about machines replacing manual labor. We're talking about computers that can potentially think and learn like humans.
You're right, it is different.
Yeah.
And it's crucial to be mindful of the potential challenges.
Right.
But I also see it as an opportunity.
Okay.
As certain tasks become automated, new jobs will emerge. We'll need people who can design, build, maintain, and ethically manage these advanced systems.
So we'll need a whole new set of skills and expertise to navigate this future.
Absolutely. It'll be more important than ever to be adaptable, to embrace lifelong learning, and to be comfortable working alongside intelligent machines.
So it's not about humans versus machines.
Yeah.
It's about humans and machines working together
Exactly.
to create a better future.
Exactly.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
about leveraging the strengths of both to solve complex problems, push the boundaries of knowledge, and create a world where technology enhances human capabilities.
That's a great way to put it. So where can our listeners go to learn more about all of this? I mean, we've just scratched the surface here, and I'm sure they're eager to dive deeper into these fascinating topics.
There are some fantastic resources out there.
Yeah.
Universities and research institutions are at the forefront of this field, and many of them have online courses and publications that are accessible to the public.
So no need to go back to school to get a PhD in quantum physics.
Aha, right.
A little relief there, but
Mhm.
seriously, any specific recommendations for our listeners?
Well, the website of the Institute for Advanced Study is a great place to start.
Okay.
They have articles and videos explaining complex topics in a way that's easy to understand.
Great.
And for those who want to delve into the technical details,
Right.
MIT OpenCourseWare offers a wealth of free courses on everything from quantum mechanics to machine learning.
Okay, awesome. We'll be sure to include those links in the show notes. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the future of computing, what's the one big takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
I think the most important thing is to stay curious. The world of computing is evolving at an incredible pace, and what seems like science fiction today could be reality tomorrow.
That's so true. We've talked about quantum computers, brain-inspired computers, computers made of DNA, and computers that run on light. It's mind-blowing to think about what the future holds.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's a future that we're all shaping together. So keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep imagining what's possible.
That's a fantastic note to end on. A huge thanks to our expert for guiding us through this incredible journey beyond the quantum horizon.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listeners, we hope you've enjoyed this deep dive. Remember, the future of computing is full of exciting possibilities, so keep learning, keep dreaming, and who knows, maybe you'll be the one to make the next groundbreaking discovery. Until next time, keep diving deep.